There are 5 rapture passages where the rapture is accompanied by some form of destruction. One passage says the rapture occurs when, quote, sudden destruction, unquote, takes place. That is 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 3. A second rapture passage says the stars will fall at the same time that the rapture takes place. That's Matthew 24, verse 29 through 31. A third passage says the rapture occurs when the Son of Destruction reveals himself. This is talking about the destroyer. He will authorize military attack which results in tremendous destruction. This destruction will forever identify him as the destroyer, the worst destroyer in all of history. So we're talking man-made destruction. My point here is that the rapture occurs in the context of this man-made destruction. Now, if we can say that the rapture in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 equals the rapture in Matthew 24, 29 through 31, equals the rapture in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, then we have a basis for saying that the 3 mentions of destruction are one and the same. The destruction in the first passage equals the destruction in the second passage equals the destruction in the third passage. This would mean that what is called the sudden destruction would equal the stars falling, what is called the stars falling, which would in turn equal the man-made destruction that reveals the destroyer. The sudden destruction would take the form of fiery objects falling from the sky. In turn, these fiery, star-like objects would have to be man-made. Now, what man-made object comes out of the sky and falls? As it falls, it becomes a fireball. Nuclear warheads are released by the heads of nuclear missiles, and as they fall, they detonate and become fireballs. They operate on nuclear fusion, as do real stars. So we are justified in calling nuclear warheads stars, falling stars, man-made stars. When nuclear fireballs appear over all the big cities of America, that will literally fulfill Christ's words about the stars will fall. Matthew 24, 29. Millions of people will die, and the angels naturally will go forth and gather the saved souls of the people that are dying, the saved souls among the people that are dying. This guy who is called the destroyer in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 3, he is also found in Daniel 11, verse 36 through 45. Here he is called the King of the North. My point is that he is the head of a government So this explains how he can launch destruction, because governments have military, they have armies, and armies have weapons. And so we're talking here about modern weapons, WMD, weapons of mass destruction. He won't be a private individual. He'll be the ruler of a government, and this explains the power that he has. He's got to be the head of a superpower, because he's got to have an enormous arsenal of weapons in order to deserve the title, the Destroyer, the worst destroyer of all time. Okay, let's review what we've learned so far. The rapture will be accompanied by sudden destruction. The rapture will be accompanied by the stars falling. The rapture will be accompanied by great man-made destruction, which reveals the man responsible to be the destroyer. If the stars falling equals the man-made destruction, this means that the stars are actually man-made objects. They're not meteorites. And since war is a context in Daniel 11, verse 40, which is about the king of the north conquering many nations to the southwest, we have to look to military equipment, weapons of mass destruction, as the objects that will fulfill Christ's words about the stars falling. Part 2. There are 2 more passages about the rapture for us to consider. One passage is called the day of the Son of Man. It's also called the day of the revealing of the Son of Man, which is just another term for the rapture. For at the rapture, the souls departing this world will see the Son of Man, which is Christ. Christ said that on that day, fire would fall from the sky, just like it did on the day that Sodom was destroyed. Genesis 19, verse 24. Christ said, on the day that Lot left Sodom, fire rained down from the sky and destroyed them all. It will be just like that on the day of the Son of Man. That's Luke 17, verse 29. I emphasize the words just like that. That's in the NIV translation. The theme of fire falling from the sky in Luke 17 is fairly synonymous with the theme of the stars falling in Matthew 24:29. On that basis, I assert that both passages are talking about the same thing. Now, Matthew 24:29 through 31 is clearly talking about the rapture, because it says Christ will send his angels to gather his elect. That means the church, from the 4 winds. That means from around the world, from one end of the horizon to the other. Now, since that is the rapture, the other passage likewise should also refer to the rapture. In Luke 17:34, it speaks of the, it says, where the bodies are, there will the vultures be gathered. So it's talking about destruction taking place, killing people. At ground zero, the heat will turn bodies to vapor. But further away, like say 5 miles away from ground zero, the heat will kill people, but it will not vaporize their bodies completely, so there will be plenty of corpses. Finally, in 1 Corinthians 15, 50 through 51, Paul the Apostle says that we will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. Now he's talking about the rapture here, and in this particular passage, he says that there won't be bodies left. First of all, he says we won't sleep, we won't die. He's talking about the fact that we'll be changed from fleshly bodies to spiritual bodies in an instant, in the twinkling of an eye. And that's because the physical body will vaporize in an instant, and we'll be left with our souls, and the soul has a body. People will be dying at the rapture, but they won't leave bodies behind that will sleep, figuratively sleep in the dust, lying prostrate. And so that's why Paul says we will not all sleep. He's talking about the rapture at the time of nuclear war. This message that the physical body will disappear is a hint that destruction is occurring to the body, but it is not as clear as the other 4 passages. Let's review what we've learned so far in part 2. The Bible says 2 opposite effects are occurring at the same time. On the one hand, it says that there will be corpses, and where the vultures will gather where the bodies are. And on the other hand, the other passage says that there won't be bodies that sleep in the earth, in the dust. Now, this is because there is a range of effects in nuclear war. At ground zero, there is complete vaporization. But further away, bodies are not fully vaporized. So nuclear war will fulfill both of these passages. Nuclear war needs to be recognized as the message that is in end-time Bible prophecy. It's time to put away the sugar-coated storybook version of the rapture, where God blows a trumpet and people just fly into the sky, and people come out of their graves and are caught up, and then their bodies are turned into spiritual bodies. Paul the Apostle said that we are to put away childish things as we become more mature. As we gain a mature understanding of the rapture, we should put away this childish notion that people will be coming out of their graves. People that have died down through the church age, whenever they die, that's when they are caught up to heaven. They are raptured, and they rise to heaven at death. And so they won't be rising at the rapture. Only the people that are alive at the time of the rapture, they will be caught up because they'll be killed at that time. We are to have a mature understanding of the rapture to realize that it happens in the context of the sudden destruction that accompanies it in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, 16 through chapter 5, verse 3. And Paul the Apostle says that we are to be children of light. And light means knowledge. So we are to be knowledgeable, and we're not supposed to be caught by surprise like the ignorant people that are outside the church. Bible says in Luke 21 that the world will be caught by surprise. This day will come upon the whole world like a snare. And a snare is another name for a trap that an animal is caught in. An animal is not aware of the trap until he is caught in it. I'm quoting from Paul's writing in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 4. To leave a comment or to ask questions, email me at joegracegrace@gmail.com. JOEGRACEGRACE @gmail.com.